Hello, my name is Alexis Ponce, and my idea for an app was a task app. The basic premise of the idea was to track your task for the day. So, say you wake up and you want to organize your day in a way that makes sense to you, usually in a linear way where the first task is up front. Um, when I wake up in the morning, I do this by using post-it stickers. I usually have a bunch of post-it stickers around my monitor. So I made this app in order to pretty much organize that in my phone instead of using post-it stickers. Uh, the idea was that it would be stored in your phone using core data. This way, it's stored on the phone. That way, it's accessible at any time, and it would be stored throughout. So, say you want to store your task for the next day, it would be in there, and those tasks would be moved towards today when you get to the next day. This is my class diagram. My class diagram revolves around these two entity types. This is the task entity, which stores the description of the task, the destination, the time, title, an image that is of type data, and the task day. The task day is going to be this entity right here, and this day holds the day as a string, day's task as an NS set, that way it could be an array, and these are the basic functions that came with initializing these entities. Right here we have a relationship between these, so that's why these basic functions are here. Here we are able to save a single task and an array of tasks to a specific day. So in the app, when it starts up, it will find what day it is today, make object of that day, and if that day was already there when the app was loaded up, it would not make another day for that day. It would save the current day. And this is our task model, since we are using a model view controller organization. So this task model will organize and initialize any tasks that are brought from the next day view controller and the today's view controller. This is today's view controller. We will have the save context. This will just save a task and the description, the destination, the time, and the image. We have basic fetch results and the clear data. And the days model will have a save day. If today, this is used to check if today is already stored inside the core data. Save task in day, so this will save the task in today's day. This will fetch an array of days, fetch record count, this is for table views, and get a specific task. Gets task array for the day, so this will return all the tasks stored in that day. The view controller will call this add view controller, which grabs all the user info to be able to store in this core data. So this image is a UI image picker, image data. It has all the tasks that are from the text fields that are going to be grabbed from the user. These are going to be these are going to be what's stored. These are going to be the variables that are able to grab what's stored in the text field. This is pretty much just going to send the info back to the view controller, where the view controller is going to then use these days model. So this is an object type of days model and a task model. Well, first it will save a task to the task entities, and then it will save that task to the day. And then all these are for the view are for the table view, and it's pretty much the same for the next day. So these two are pretty much the same. So you would first start the app in this view controller, and if you pushed the add task, it would call the add view controller, and from the add view controller the user will put the info in and then be able to go back to this view controller where it would be segued into the next day view controller if the user clicked the next day. The next day has the same segue to a next add view controller, which is pretty much the same as this add view controller. Over here we have a maps view controller, which where the user is going to be able to segue to from this view controller or the next day view controller. And here we're going to have a user location where we're going to grab the user location using the core location. Of course, the user has to authorize this usage. Over here we have a segmented controller. We're going to be able to control whether the user wants a hybrid, satellite, or it's standard, and map view, MK map view, where is the actual map. We're going to be able to search. So in here, the basic premise of this map view controller was that while you are organizing your task, you're able to go to maps view controller, and you're going to be able to search what you need, search locations where you need to go for that task. So say you had a task where it was like pick up sister from school, and you'll be able to look up the school and be able to see how far it is. That way you could organize your day in a timely manner. Over here we have the news view controller, which is going to be incorporated with the Google News API. It's going to be able to parse the JSON result from the Google News API into, and we're going to do that by initializing these structure types over here. So we have an article, which is going to be able to store the author, description, published at, title, URL, and URL to image that is returned from the Google News API call. And these news structure would pretty much store an array of this article's type. For my MVC diagram, this view is pretty much just gonna show the user what the data types, show the user what the data looks like. So the view is gonna show the task in a table view. It's gonna show the map in a MK map view. It's gonna show the Google News results in a table view. The view is going to respond to these interactions. So if the user pushes the add button to add a task view, it's going to send it back. It's going to notify that the user has initialized this, and it's going to let the controller handle it's pretty much the middleman between the model and the view. In the model, we have the core data. This is the actual data of the app. This is pretty much the logic of it. This model will give the controller the data, where the controller then interprets this data and is able to let the user see this data, see this data in a way that makes sense. So right here you see how it says grabs data from core data, saves user input, grabs today's date, calls Google News API, parses Google News JSON files, populates table view, calls MapKit API, pretty much the middleman of the app. So this controller will update table views to where the user is then able to see it. The capabilities of the app is that it will store the task permanently on the phone using core data. It's able to import images from user's camera and photo library. The camera is working. In my simulator, obviously, since the simulator doesn't have a camera, I was never able to actually take a picture and use it. but I was able to use the photo library, and the photo library is pretty much coded almost the same as the camera, other than one small part of it. It's able to show current news events where when it's segued to the news view controller, it's going to be able to show the current news. In the app, currently I have it set to U.S. news, so it's gonna fill the table view with the latest news in the United States, and it's gonna be able to show the user's location if the user, of course, allows that. Once it's segued into the map view controller, it's gonna immediately show the user where they're located. It's gonna give map search results. The user is gonna be able to search for anything they would like. The limitations of this app, I have quite a few. News section could be more personalized. Like I said, it's set to give US news. I would like to have it where the user is able to personalize it in a way that they could get news that they specifically would like. So I would incorporate that by having mostly a profile section. So I guess it would be more like incorporating a personalized profile where they could then select what kind of news they would like to be given. Table views could be more aesthetically pleasing. I believe that my table views are not horrendous for the task, but for the Google News part, it is a little cluttered. I would like it to be spaced out more and have a different font, and just like make it more aesthetically pleasing. I was not able to incorporate that just for the time. Didn't have enough time before this assignment was due. I could implement a notification method to where the user would be able to then get notifications based on if they are currently on track to complete their task or if they're falling behind. I would also like to give a user-based location. So say if you had a task and you set a task where the destination is like say 10 miles away, and you started driving already, but the app detects that you're a little behind time-wise and distance-wise. So it would be able to detect that you're not going to show up on time, and it'll let you know. I could see that as being a little bit more stressful, but I believe the users that use this task app would like to be notified about stuff like that. I would also, my idea for the app was kind of like having a task app where you only focused on today. I added tomorrow because I figured most people would want to, like, at the end of the night, plan ahead for the next day. But I could also see a lot of users wanting to be able to make tasks further in the future, say maybe a week. So I'll maybe expand the amount of time that you're able to make a task, maybe by a week or a month, or maybe just have the full year calendar. But at that point, it'd be just a calendar and not a task app. So that one I would not 100% sure about. Could implement favorite task. I would also like to have a favorite task. So I guess maybe not favorite, but a common task. So say you have a task that you commonly do every day. Maybe you could set that as your common task, and that will just be populated every day. Maybe I would also like to use cloud storage, where if you have all your tasks stored on your phone and you lose your phone breaks or anything, you don't lose all that data. It's stored in the cloud and you're able to access it whenever you want. Maybe also have a team features where at that, like, say you have a project and you want the team to be viewing these tasks, and we could all implement these tasks and put names to these tasks, and everyone's gonna be able to like edit it in a live fashion, kind of like a Google Docs fashion, but of course that'd be in the future. Give users direction for search locations and could store directions. Those are limitations. So those are the things that it doesn't have, and those are pretty much the things I would like to have in the app. The lessons learned is how to use APIs. I've never used APIs before. They're really interesting to use. It's a pretty cool way to be able to just incorporate other programs that are already made out there into your own app instead of trying to figure out all that stuff on your own. How to parse JSON files. I've never messed with JSON files either. I've heard about it, but I didn't really understand what it was. How to incorporate date-based data. So in my app, I had to get today's date, and it was a lot more complicated than I thought it would be, but it was interesting to learn. How to use core data. So I learned core data obviously through the class, but being a task app, being my own idea, it was a lot more hands-on in the way that I was thinking a lot more about the actual data. Um, so I kind of learned more about core data and how to really manipulate it. Planning ahead. So I learned that it's really important to plan ahead in these kind of apps since there's so many classes and interactions between them, and the importance of diagrams in the same way that it gets really complicated if you're not really viewing the diagram. MVC concept. MVC concept was something that's, I think most people understand, but when you see it really written out, it really makes sense in the way that it's built. So I kind of learned it more conceptually. Um, Suggestions for class. Update the PowerPoint slides and update app examples, give more examples, and explain the required topics for class choosing ideas.